Okay, welcome to Barcelona Cybersecurity Congress Digital Summit and to our roundtable session entitled Challenges of Incident Response in Smart Mobility. We will be taking questions from the audience during today's session. If you like to ask us a question, please type it to your dashboard and we will answer you via text chat during this session. Well, my name is Esteban and I am the director of the Catalonia SOC CERT at the Cybersecurity Agency of Catalonia. At the agency, we work to grant cybersecurity to the entire region of Catalonia, and our CERT is one of the main tools that we have to achieve that goal. As a response team, we handle cybersecurity incidents in a wide range of environments on a daily basis. At the agency, we are very excited about all the emerging technologies like 5G, blockchain, artificial intelligence, smart city, and obviously smart mobility. Even though we are excited, we are also a bit concerned because we've seen an evolution on threat landscape in the last few years, with new threats that affect these emerging technologies. So I'm sure that this roundtable will allow all of us to understand the current situation and how the industry is working hard to solve them. Today, we are happy to welcome three colleagues that have been playing a crucial role in the smart mobility industry here in Catalonia for a long time now. We have Alex Palathon, who is the cybersecurity team leader, SET and Cupra at SET Company. Good afternoon, Alex. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. Basically, I'm a security and car enthusiast. Currently, as Xavier says, I hold the position of automotive cybersecurity team leader at SEAT and Cupra. And one of my main responsibilities is the car security incident team, who basically is the central coordination to detect, correct the risk and challenge that relate to the product, to our product. But I started my career in CERT of the UPC, University of Catalonia, and later at work as a security consultant in Ernst & Young, and I was focused on the implementation of a very diverse projects such as CERT, Security Operations Centers, Threat Intelligence, and Red Teams.
Okay,
so that's all from my part.
Okay. Okay, we also have Davita Steven, who is the Global Security Manager at Cellnex. Good afternoon, David, and thank you for joining us. Please tell the audience a bit yourself.
Thank you, Xavier. Hello, everyone. First, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this event. It is a pleasure to be able to discuss security for smart mobility in this forum. Let me introduce myself. I am Davita Steven. I am the head of global security at Cellnex. I have been responsible for security at Cellnex for 10 years. Initially from the OT side, and since about 6 years ago, from both IT and OT. Let me say that 2 years ago, Cellnex wanted to rethink if the security model that we were adopting could face future challenges and if it was scalable, taking into account the expected growth model. So the global security area was created and with functions of global risk management and also governance for both IT and OT security and also physical security. At Cellnex, we assess the risk of these three areas together.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. And finally, we have Angel Perez, who is the Chief Information Security Officer at Vistas. Good afternoon, Angel, and thank you for joining us. Would you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I am happy to be here with you this afternoon with these colleagues and also friends. And I introduce myself. I am currently responsible of the areas of organization, business continuity, and cybersecurity at Abertis Autopistas, Spain. We manage 1,000 high-capacity roads in Spain with a lot of technology involved in this activity. We have a strong relationship with cybersecurity departments of public and private road operators with a common objective to improve the global protection capabilities of the terrestrial transportation sector. Therefore, we actively participate in different associations related to cybersecurity, privacy, business continuity, and crisis management. We are pretty convinced that in this cybersecurity business, the public-private collaboration and the private-private collaboration should be an essential part of the information security strategy of any organization.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Okay, so I like to say that we are really lucky to have you today. So thank you again for your time and for being with us. So if everybody is ready, I will go ahead with the questions. We know that smart mobility, like other emerging technologies, is targeted by common well-known threats like ransomware, malware, etc. But are these the most important ones for you? We will start with Alex. So can you tell us your thoughts on this, Alex?
Yeah, the truth is that the sector is changing very fast. We have gone from in isolated or individual elements, such as a car or vehicle, and to a complex combination in which many elements are involved, and all of them must be secure because all of them are connected. And a whole connected ecosystem has been created around the transportation that force us to change the way that we think, that we develop, and we operate. So the main threats, I think, that may occur in the ecosystem, targeting those elements that are weaker or more insecure. For example, those that are obsolete or cannot be updated, or something, some type of these elements. So basically, I think that these threats may occur on all the ecosystem.
Okay, so well, David, what's your opinion?
Okay, main threats. It is clear that with the increasing connectivity in vehicles and the development of autonomous cars, the risk of cyber attacks and also the associated damage to these vehicles are also increasing. If there are new interfaces, I mean, if these interfaces are attacked, not only significant damage to the vehicle can occur, but also great danger for the passengers. And this is the most important. We can put the passenger at risk, and this is what we have to prevent. And for what? Because at the end we can talk about threat, but the reality is that for the same reason that different attacks occur in any other area, to obtain resources, information, money, or to cause damage, that is terrorism. So for me, this is the main risk, the main threat, the exposure of the vehicle. Another potential risk is related maybe to the infrastructure. The ICT infrastructure is already essential for cities, for the society, but as the transport becomes increasingly dependent on this infrastructure, the security and the strategic management of integrated systems becomes even more critical. Cyber attacks would be even more damaging if they were able to take down all the transport sector as well. And another point, and let me say different points. As smart mobility solutions will generate large amount of data, and the threat of data abuse, even private data abuse, and the issue of data security need to be taken into account. So increased exposure of vehicles, dependence on infrastructures, data privacy. I think last but not least, another threat would be, let me say, speaking different languages. And I don't mean English or Spanish or any other, but speaking a different language when it concerns cybersecurity risk. not having a common terminology related to cybersecurity could make difficult to understand cyber risk, and most important, how to mitigate it. Not having a common criteria, a common acceptable level of risk, it should be a problem. That is, having different levels of cybersecurity assurance from company or to company or country to country could address to problems in the future on the level of security of the technology of the platform.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting opinion. Thanks, David. And what do you think, Angel?
Yes, okay. Before talking about threats, let me introduce the three main challenges of smart mobility that are, in my humble opinion. First of all is to save life. The second, deploy a multimodal and sustainable transport system that reduce the CO2 emissions and also support the economic development of the society. And third, order the mobility inside and around the big cities. And talking more specifically about the Saving Lives Challenge, the World Health Organization published last year a terrible fact. Every year, 1.35 million people die as a result of road traffic crashes. This means 77 people will die during this 30 minutes conversation due to a car crash. 77 people. The human factor is the main risk factor involved in these fatalities. I ask you to understand that this is our main sectorial challenge, to reduce car crashes fatalities. Due to this, we embrace the technology adoption in mobility. The past road tech report of Avertis Group talks about the introduction of the autonomous vehicle. We believe it will reduce the 90% car crashes. And due to this, the systems should be designed for be forgiving of human errors. Okay, and the road infrastructure management has a specific term called ETS, Intelligent Transport System. This concept involves enterprise applications that aim to improve the efficiency and safety of transport systems. This is an umbrella term for many kinds of systems. For example, warning drivers of traffic congestion, detecting environmental anomalies, etc. Most ITS systems have a three-tier architecture. First, a transportation layer, where the data is collected and translated into information and knowledge. A communication layer, internet protocol, IoT communications like Sigfox, LoRaWAN, and other aerial communications. And my colleague David is the expert in these matters. No? And the third is the institutional layer, maybe, related to the structure for organization to implement, operate, and maintain ETS efficiently, and allow to share information with other parts, vehicles, police, emergency departments, other road management operators, energy supplier, etc. In my opinion, the main threats we can observe in road management sector are the same for other industries. Maybe at the transportation layer, for example, we could see distributed denial of service attacks, or at the communication layer, for example, we could see spoofing, attacks to the cryptography, etc. And at the institutional layer, we could see ransomware, the most common type of attack, phishing, data fraud, and theft of valuable information.
Okay, Angel. Impressive guys. So thanks for sharing. So moving on, we are seeing some initiatives to address threats on smart mobility, like the development of the ISO 21334 for road vehicles, the newest Mitre attack for ICS that allow us to be able to map attacks and understand the tactics and techniques that actors are currently using. And we also have incident response playbook from Siemens, for example, with a proposed approach to response to attacks on the industrial sector. So, in your opinion, what is the most important and urgent initiative that will be useful to carry out allowing us to prevent and respond to the previous mentioned threats. This time we will start with David. So can you tell us your thoughts on this?
Yes, of course. In my opinion, in order to address these threats, we must do what we already know how to do, and what has been done in other more, let me see, security sensitive sectors. Security by design. Equipment manufacturers, infrastructure providers, all the participants in the supply chain must have a structured process to enable a security by design process, including components, connections, software, hardware, infrastructure, all of them. And it should not only stop in the design, but this risk assessment should cover the entire development process and life cycle of the vehicle and infrastructures during all the phases: requirements, design, implementation, but also operations. And this is where global frameworks and very important, also homogeneous legislation between states are needed. And to ensure this acceptable risk. Is it not enough to ensure security in the design and production of the vehicle or the infrastructure, but it must be ensured that security controls are taken into account in, let me see, post-production processes, software updates, as Alex said at first, service and maintenance, incident response. I think that the ISO 21434 or other ISOs as 27001 takes this approach. It provides a structured process to ensure that cybersecurity considerations are incorporated into in this case, automotive products throughout their life cycle. It focuses on the vehicle and the supply chain, and it is an appropriate approach for sure, but infrastructures must also be taken into account. Potential threats, attacks, and vulnerabilities associated with the infrastructure must also be identified and analyzed, and the risk level should be determined based on the damage scenarios and the likelihood of the successful attacks. And the ISO standard places great emphasis on risk identification methods and processes in place to deal with these cyber risks. But if the infrastructure leads to the direct risk to the road user, it must be monitored, controlled, and mitigated. Don't focus only on the vehicle, but also in the infrastructure. And let's put an example. Does it make sense for the vehicle to be designed with security by default, but need to connect to centralized platforms for certain functionalities? Maybe it may not be possible to bring all the control to the car itself and have the checks done locally, but they can be brought closer to the local infrastructure. Solutions as edge computing can enable this. This is part of the risk analysis. But a standard, an ISO by itself, does nothing. There must be a regulation to ensure that these standards are implemented. And this regulation should not, let me see, cannot be local. This is not acceptable that when the area of application changes, the rules are different. It cannot be that what is acceptable in one country is not acceptable in another country. And I repeat, this not only affect the car and the supply chain, but everything necessary for it to work, including infrastructure and telecommunication. This is the same that, as I said before, a common language must be defined, but mechanisms must be put in place to make everything speak this same language. This is where transnational regulators come into play, I think.
Well, Okay, so well, what do you think, Angel?
Yes, okay. As the European Union says, in the near future, we can expect the emergence of a wider use of game-changing new mobility technologies, such as drones for commercial applications, autonomous vehicles, hyperloop, hydrogen-powered aircraft, and electric waterborne transport, for example. The European Commission will develop the framework to facilitate the development and deployment of digital tools and systems. We will work towards facilitating testing and making the regulatory environment fit for innovation, notably with regard to artificial intelligence. And the road operators must understand this and improve our technological skills because the dependence of technology will increase dramatically in the next years. At Abertis Autopistas, we have calculated how many IP addresses we have in our network published working. Okay, nowadays we have a ratio of 17.9 IP addresses per kilometer, and this is continuously increasing by the introduction of a wide range of IoT devices in our roads. The ITS ecosystem is huge. We have a lot of IoT devices on the roads and increasing super IoT machines with wheels called cores. Additionally, we must share information and protect it with other public and private operators, police emergency departments, suppliers, customers, and society in general. The road industry has developed during last years exhaustive and rigorous incident plans related to big accidents, earthquakes, storms, snow, etc. These incidents have a severity qualification. When things get very bad, we activate the Global Crisis Management Plan. We activate the top management and our stakeholders involved at the maximum level of responsibility. Every road operator must improve our traditional cybersecurity incident plan to introduce the new concepts of the smart mobility strategy and connect it to this crisis management plan. In a more global vision, all the stakeholders involved in smart mobility should increase their collaboration and connect their respective cybersecurity incident plan. Last year, some European countries decided to create a dedicated sectorial computer security incident response teams, the CSIRT, for example, for energy and air transport. I wonder if it makes sense as CSIRT focus in smart mobility.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be a good initiative. So, okay, Alex, do you want to add something else?
Yeah, for me, it's important to explain to our audience that today cars contain more than 100 electronic control units, the ECUs, and about 100 million lines of code. So, as we know, we are thinking that this comes with a significant cybersecurity risk, and we are talking about risk. And as hackers seek to access electronic systems, the data, that they have a lot of money of them. And the important thing is that here we can threaten the vehicle safety and the consumer privacy. So 2 new UNSC regulations entering into force last January 2021. So there are basically regulations cybersecurity and the software updates of the vehicles, and will help us to manage this risk by establishing a clear performance and audit requirements for car manufacturers. So it's important because these are the first ever internationally harmonized norms in this area. And these 2 regulations are applicable approximately 54 countries that are an agreement of UNSC. So, in order to summarize, one of more important initiative, and I think that I'm in line with David, that they say, is to establish a process for cross-managing cyber risks, cyber incidents, and react to these cyber security incidents across the whole smart mobility ecosystem, not only individually that my company does incident response, David company do the incident response, and Angel company they own, because we have to talk the same language. And someone previously speak about this, the same language, the same collaboration, and this is for me one of the most important initiative. And another aspect to pay attention is the lack of experience and training of some actors of our sectors that come from a disconnected and non-digital world, and that will join the disconnected ecosystem of the smart mobility. And we have to take attention on that.
Okay, so interesting thoughts and initiatives, guys. So let's move on. As the adoption of smart mobility emerges, we are seeing that threats are also evolving, as well as the increase in number of incidents. In 2020, more than 300 ransomware incidents that hit the industry control system were reported. We have even seen actors using a specific ransomware like Snake Icons, which has been developed for this purpose. So let me ask you the following question. Do you think that ransomware evolution will change its focus from data encryption to the ransom of physical people? Should users be afraid of that? Okay, it's time we will start with Angel. So Angel, what's your opinion?
Okay. Unfortunately, my answer is yes to all. Cybersecurity is an asymmetric threat. This untraditional method of warfare puts us up against situations we can't predict because we don't have a full understanding of what it involves or how it's launched. Cybersecurity brings constant and emerging perils. Just as you close the door on one attack, a bad hacker opens a different door or window and enters somewhere else. The complex multi-tier architecture across many different agents makes ITS especially vulnerable to cyber attacks, and ransomware nowadays is the main threat. Related to road management, I can remember road management or infrastructure management, I can remember 3 incidents. First of all, last Friday, a ransomware attack forced the temporary shutdown of one of the US large pipelines. These pipelines is a key artery for the eastern half of the US. It's the main source of gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel for the East Coast. This last Friday. Last April, we knew the attack to the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority. This incident paralyzed many of the agency's computer systems for days. And some years ago, an unidentified collective of hackers managed to shut down a major tunnel road in Israel 2 days in a row. Imagine in a future an hypothetical ransomware attack to a specific model of a car maker, and all the vehicles suddenly stop or crash. Who will be affected? The driver, sure. The car maker, sure. The road manager, when the incident happened, sure. And also the other car drivers, the emergency departments, etc. This sector is continuously increasing in complexity, and we must cooperate in order to introduce the necessary confidence to the technology adoption that this awesome evolution on the mobility we will see next years. Strong relationships with our suppliers, customers, car makers, other operators, backed by rapidly activation of response plans, are essential for cybersecurity in the ever-changing environment.
Perfect. Thanks, Angel. Alex, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm more positive than Angel. Why I say this? Because we are facing a change of paradigm. Because autonomous vehicles and mobility fleets that, for example, shared fleets, will largely be owned and maintained by a service or a company, not from a single customer. This means that these vehicles or these products will return to a garage every day, and they can be examined for forensics, for example, modified or updated manually or over the air, but you have the control of that. These modifications may include software or hardware changes, and the changes that need be including security patches or some cryptographic key rotations. And this is an advantage because the operation model is more close into the monitoring service, and this can help to detect vulnerabilities before become a major problem. Because when you have a fleet that don't stay in control, it's more difficult. So I'm more positive in this way because with smart mobility, the fleets of products will become maintained by a service. And I think that we are going to a better model, talking about security.
Okay, so David, do you want to add something else?
It's difficult to add more things, but I'm sorry, Alex, but I am in the same opinion as Angel. Let me make a small reflection. What is the main goal of an attacker running a ransomware campaign? Getting money. The more, the better. And what is the victim's main motivation for paying the ransom? To get back something that is valuable for him, that is worth that price. With this in mind, what is the most valuable thing we have? Our family? Ourselves? If someone comes to us and says, I have the control of your car, or the car that is taking your partner and children to school, I have hijacked it. Either you pay me a certain amount of money, or I will crash it. What will you do? Will we pay? It is hard to think about this situation, but we have to be clear that it will happen, and scrupulous groups will do it. And we need to be well prepared to respond to such incidents, create resilient environments, to be able to update, as you say, Alex, vulnerabilities quickly, instantaneously, I will say, or to have the capacity to I don't know, to disconnect a vehicle of better that the vehicle disconnects itself automatically in the event of detecting some disruptive event. I think this is the big challenge.
Yeah, completely agree. I say that I'm more positive than Angel, but I completely agree with your messages. Yeah, it's true that when you put vehicle or a product that has a component of safety, because when now we are seeing ransomware that are installing our computers, but we don't have any kind of safety. If their computer is not critical, for example, medical computers, I think that maybe we can attempt to the safety of the people. But now, when we talk about smart mobility, there is a component of safety of life of our clients, of life of our family that are in the equation. No, so yes, this is completely true. Maybe we are going to face a new challenges, a new type of attacks that we don't see in today's. So yeah.
Yeah, I was being very dramatic also, but
Yeah,
I was taking it to the stream. But
Hollywood film about this conversation can be done. But yes, it's true that when you put safety in the equations, the risk is elevated.
Okay, guys. So I'm sorry that it will be all for today. So I hope to see all of you in person in October at the Barcelona Cybersecurity Congress to discuss more deeper in all the topics exposed today. Again, I want to thank you, all of you, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today. And well, have a nice day and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to
Thank
all.
you.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.